Hi, my name is Han, and my pronouns are they, them, and I will be presenting on my capstone project that I did. Um, and the title of my project was The Inclusivity of Autistic Students in Elementary Schools. Okay, and let's start with the project description and site. So this project was completed in partnership with Seattle Children's Autism Research Center and the Ruby's project in Sandpoint, Washington, in addition to an approved home office in Redmond, Washington. The educational presentation resource provided advanced understanding of autistic, nervous, and sensory system differences and neuro-affirming language aimed to enhance educators' knowledge to support their autistic students' engagement in school. The research questionnaire provided data on educators' knowledge on autism, access to sensory supports, and knowledge on sensory systems. And here are two pictures. This is what my office looked like in Seattle Children's when I was on site. And then here's a screenshot of my educational presentation that is available on YouTube. And so my needs assessment and literature review. So currently, autism research and healthcare interventions mainly focus on fixing or changing the person instead of addressing society's problematic structure and attitudes towards autism. These attitudes and lack of understandings affect how autistic individuals are being treated in the community. Jones et al. 2022 reported that 86% of autistic students attending school had difficulty due to fitting in socially, learning needs, and communication differences. And I want to highlight communication differences. I did not spend a lot of time on this project, but if I was doing another capstone project in the future, I would spend my time on trying to help increase the evidence-based research on letter boards because letter boards are so crucial and important to helping some non-speaking autistic people be able to communicate in a form that works for them. Because recent studies have been talking about how how non-speaking autistic people may have a difference in neuromotor uh, that's affecting their ability to speak. It's not intelligence, it's not cognition, it's neuromotor. So it's a different root cause than what most of the research in the past has said. And that research has been extremely harmful to this population. But I am still learning more about that, and I'm not an expert on that. So I want to continue to learn more and potentially get trained and certified on working with letter boards in the future to support the clients that I will be working with in the future. And so, okay, back to the needs assessment. So Jones et al. 2020 reported sensory differences negatively affect autistic students' engagement in school by causing anxiety, distress, and distractions. And another study in 2016 found that 88% of autistic individuals were affected by noise, 75 by touch, 50 by vision, and 38 by smell in the classroom. However, when they have control over their sensory experiences, they reported positive experiences. Therefore, there is an urgent need in schools to improve the inclusion of autistic students to facilitate the same level of learning and education as their autistic peers. This project aimed to enhance autism research, physical resources in schools, and educators' autism knowledge to create a more inclusive and safer environment for autistic students. Occupational therapy practitioners can aid in facilitating change by advocacy education, environmental medications or adaptations, and sensory supports to improve autistic community inclusion. And those are just a couple of examples. Occupational therapy practitioners can aid in facilitating more change than just through those mechanisms. And so next, so for Christ, I quoted the Bible that said, "For I know the plan I have for you, plans to prosper you and to not harm you, plans to give you hope in a future." And currently, right now, the way the most communities are set up are harmful for the autistic community, especially for the non-speaking autistic community in schools. Um, so the yeah, I just wish I had more. I wish I could do more for my capstone project is why I was just stumbling for a sec because there's so much more that needs to be done. And I did make an impact, but I want to make more of an impact. But I will go back to that at the end where I talk about my future plans. Okay, so next is scholarship. So provided education to teachers, paraeducators, and researchers on autistic sensory and nervous system differences with an educational presentation and sensory toolkit. Then service. So helped advocate for a community that needs their voices heard, understood, and accepted, and more. Okay, so next is project completion and outcomes. So by providing schools with education to understand behaviors as a form of communication and providing the Ruby's research team with sensory tools for these schools, this will improve access to resources in these schools. And then creation of an autism educational presentation was used to educate people who work with autistic individuals and families. It advocates for neuro-affirming language and care to create a safer and more inclusive environment for the autistic population. And then development and analysis of a questionnaire to understand educators' knowledge of autism, access to sensory tools, and awareness of sensory systems. The results can be used to better understand the care autistic students receive in schools. And one of the results that stood out to me was that the educators reported having access to things like wobble discs and visual aids. However, the majority of them did not report using them very frequently throughout the week, which was surprising to me. And it shows that there is still definitely a gap in knowledge to understand how important those tools are to facilitate engagement for that for some people in the autistic population. And then, so I also observed Ruby intervention sessions with autism researchers and parents of autistic kids. I advocated in Ruby team meetings by highlighting how some behaviors could be due to unmet sensory or regulatory needs and collaborated with them to support the client's sensory needs. And lastly, I collaborated with autism researchers to improve neuro-affirming language within the center. And then my mission statement is to improve occupational engagement for autistic students and strengthen teacher support in K through 6 schools. And my vision statement is to provide autistic students with equal opportunity within a traditional K through 6 setting by providing tools to meet sensory needs, education to support staff members, and expand evidence-based research in support of autistic students and their educators. So I had 3 deliverables with this project, and the first one was to create a questionnaire and analyze the results about educators' experiences around sensory needs, school sensory environment, and resources available to staff and students. My second one was to complete an educational presentation to improve knowledge on autism, sensory and nervous system differences, and sensory tools or supports for educators and researchers working with the autistic population. And my third deliverable was to complete a sensory toolkit with links to purchase sensory tools for schools included in the Ruby study. Because the Ruby study was also funded by a grant, so they'll be able to actually purchase with the grant money they received. And then down here is my QR code that you can pause and scan if you want to go see the website that I created. And then lastly, future implications for OT. So occupational therapy practitioners need to listen to living experiences of autistic people to ethically support their interventions. Research needs to incorporate and be guided by autistic individuals in all steps of the autism research process. And then occupational therapy practitioners need to keep advocating and educating practitioners and clients on sensory or nervous system related behaviors. And then inclusive occupational therapy education that is accommodating of diverse needs to increase the diversity of occupational therapy practitioners is very needed. And the main reason why I am so passionate about this project is because I am autistic, and throughout my experiences in education, I have had to fight for my accommodations and just to be supported in the way that I needed to be able to engage in my education at a level, the same level as my classmates. I still remember in high school, I had only one teacher throughout all of like elementary, middle school, high school that actually supported me and accommodated me. And yeah, I probably got the best support in undergrad and college. I went to a great college that had some good accommodations, but it still wasn't enough. Um, and especially in higher education, we really need a lot more accommodations and understanding with the people that are helping you get your accommodations too. Um, and then also create community sensory modifications and adaptations to make communities more inclusive and safer for autistic individuals. For example, you hear about like sensory rooms, for example, at like stadiums and stuff, but then it's super hard to find them. And then when you go into the room, they aren't actually equipped with the supplies that are needed. Um, yeah, also just like, yeah, there's so many more that I could go on little rampages about different things of how we could improve community like modifications and adaptions and stuff to make it more safe for a wider um, population of people. But I can talk about that a different time. And then, so the last point is I will continue to advocate for the autistic community inclusion and safety, in addition to working with autistic clients and providing neuro-affirming care. So I will be working at a pediatric outpatient clinic, mainly with autistic clients and other kiddos with neuro differences or yeah. But I will be working there right when I get out of school. I have that lined up, and then I will also be working with hopefully still be working with some of the people from the Autism Research Center. I am going to be working on a grant with Jill Locke, and yeah, I'm very excited for I'm also sorry if I mispronounced that name. But yeah, so I will be working to advocate and research still, and also clinically within the field. I would also like to make my presentation of the different sensory systems and create little short videos that are easier to give to my clients and their families. But yeah, so if you need to reach me in the future, my contact information is hand.autisticot@gmail.com. And here's the list of references. And then if you want a full list, you can email me and ask me for it. But thank you for watching my presentation, and I hope you have a great rest of your day.